Congress determined to conduct free and fair primary elections. And correspondent examines ways to avert food crisis in Nigeria. Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of Panorama from Enugu Network Center. I am Onome Okadibu. The Independent National Electoral Commission in Osun State has begun the distribution of sensitive materials in all the 30 local government areas of the state. Femi Afonyego has the report.
Under the supervision of security personnel and party agents, INEC took delivery of the sensitive materials from the Central Bank of Nigeria, Osogbo branch. The resident electoral commissioner in Osun, Olusegun Agbaje, said the materials would be taken immediately to all the 30 local government areas with full coverage of security personnel attached to each vehicle.
I'm afraid that these vehicles will get safely to their destination and that this election will be very free, fair, credible, and peaceful. There will be no problem.
Being a litmus test for 2019 general election, INEC is bringing in innovation sensitive materials.
The ballot papers are customized, and out of the 30 local governments, each ballot paper has different color coding. So you cannot take ballot paper of Iferedun and take it to Elisha or any other local government. The result sheets are customized as well. So you cannot take result sheets from one RA, even in Iferedun, to another RE, because it is customized to that particular local government.
The materials include ballot papers, card readers, PU forms, among others. Security operatives were stationed at the entrance with men of counter-terrorism and anti-bomb units on guard. In Osogbo, Femi Afanyego, NTA News.
And still on the political scene, the All Progressives Congress, APC, says it is determined to conduct free and fair primary elections that credible candidates who will not only add value but identify themselves with the hope and aspirations of the people of Nigeria. This is part of decisions at the meeting between APC governors and the national executives of the party in Abuja. Political correspondent Salihu Abdullahi reports.
The meeting, held behind closed doors, lasted several hours. It came less than 24 hours after the National Working Committee of the APC released a revised timetable for its primary elections nationwide. Chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum and National Chairman of the party addressed the media on issues at stake.
We have adopted both direct and indirect. Most of the states are going for indirect primaries. But for the president, it will be direct primaries.
No, there is no APC governor that is a battle. Right. And because we are democratic, the best way to measure democracy is the presence of more than one person showing interest in an office. That does not make any other.
Meanwhile, the party has commenced screening of aspirants into various elective offices.
We had a state executive committee meeting with stakeholders, and we settled for direct primaries.
Well, the position of the state executive committee of Bauchi, which they took while I was away in China with Mr. President, is for indirect primaries.
I've had the opportunity to interface and brainstorm with our party leaders.
I think for many of us that are running for the second time, the screening is just a confirmatory process.
And we are quite impressed with the level of preparation that is provided by the party leadership.
The exercise is expected to last till Saturday, 22nd September 2018. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
As part of efforts to ensure effective health coverage in Enugu State, the state governor, Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, has inaugurated a 16-member technical working committee for the establishment of the State Agency for Universal Health Coverage. Ijoma Ugweke has the details.
The governor, represented by the deputy, Mrs. Cecilia Ezilo, said the committee is aimed at improving the ease of engaging development partners interested in universal health coverage and partnership.
As we all know, His Excellency the Executive Governor of Enugu State has held as a prelude of his administration. His aspiration has always been, in his words, to turn Enugu State into the choice destination for medical treatment and medical tourism.
The committee, which has Commissioner for Health, Dr. Fintan Ekochin, as its chairman, will also create a conducive working environment for the agency desk officers and State Ministry of Health staff activities towards the ultimate goal. The committee is part of the 2017 health reforms by the present administration. In Enugu, Ijomu Gweke, NTA News.
As school resumes, wife of Enugu State Governor, Mrs. Monica Ugwuanyi, has flagged up the distribution of school materials to indigent peoples in Ogu and Amechi Ozala in Nkanu West local government area of the state. Again, Ijoma Ugweke has the details.
Materials distributed include school bags, exercise books, toiletries, lunch packs, and writing materials. At Community Primary School, Amechi Ozala, Mrs. Ugwuanyi said the gesture is to welcome the children back to school. She urged them to concentrate on their studies and maintain good hygiene to avoid contracting diseases.
We came to welcome you back. Welcome from your holidays, and to urge you, as you are back to school, we want you to mean business. We want you to read. That's why we brought all these materials.
Also at Central School, Ihe Ogu, wife of the governor, also distributed school materials to the pupils. She said it is part of efforts of federal and state government to enhance teaching and learning in schools.
What do you say to Mrs. Aisha Mohammed Buhari? What do you say? Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Your Excellency.
In Enugu, Ijomu Gweke, NTA News.
As a scheme operating in a dynamic society, the National Youth Service Corps is constantly faced with new challenges in the discharge of the core mandate of the program. To evolve sustainable solutions to these challenges, NYSC officials from across the country converged on Enugu for the 2018 Batch C pre-mobilization workshop. Susan Eze reports on the opening ceremony of the two-day workshop.
In the words of the NYSC Director General, Brigadier General Suleiman Kazauri, the pre-mobilization workshop has remained a vital platform for stakeholders in the scheme to interact and come up with strategies for credible mobilization process. The DG, represented by the Director, Planning, Research and Statistics, Victoria Okaku, noted that the theme of the workshop, evolving strategies to overcome new challenges in the NYSC mobilization process, is aimed at appraising the performances of the previous exercises and correcting observed lapses.
There is need for stakeholders to recognize the needs to exchange ideas for improvements of our respective roles. It is my firm belief that this workshop will provide sustainable solutions to these challenges.
The Enugu State Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, represented by the State Commissioner for Youth and Sports, Joseph Udedi, commended the input of the NYSC in nation building, particularly in the development of the electoral process.
I call all stakeholders in the NYSC project to give our best for the benefits of our youth and the nation as a whole.
Other speakers, including the Director, Core Mobilization, Mrs. Nnenna Okono, and the Enugu State NYSC Coordinator, Alhaji Ahmed Ikaka, expressed confidence that the workshop will chart a new way forward. Representatives of collaborating agencies such as the National Universities Commission, National Board for Technical Education, and the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board were also part of the meeting in April. Susan Eze, NTA News.
2 suspects alleged to be involved in the robbery and killing of one Reverend Father Jude Ebom of St. Patrick's Catholic Church, Amucha, Njaba, of Imo State have been apprehended by operatives of the Federal Special Anti-Robbery Squad, Imo State Command. Imo State Commissioner of Police, Dasuki Galandanchi, made this known to journalists at a press briefing and parade of suspects held at the police headquarters, Owerri, Imo State. Bright Ebocho completes the report.
Imo State Commissioner of Police Dasuki Galadanchi said his command and the Department of the State Security Services, DSS, in collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, carried out a sting operation aimed at forestalling illicit sale of the country's Naira notes. 10 suspects were arrested as a result.
The strategy is community policing, which entails the rule of law, partnership, collaboration, teamwork, openness, transparency, and accountability.
The command also apprehended 2 suspects in the killing of one Reverend Father Jude Ebom of Umuwala Nkwere, parish priest of St. Patrick's Catholic Church, Amucha Njaba local government area of Imo State. Also paraded by the Imo State Police Command were 2 suspects involved in the kidnapping of a corpse from One Jesus Hospital, Akabo, demanding a ransom of 5 million naira.
I'm glad to inform you that the police command under my watch has resolved to sustain the momentum of the arrest and prosecution of suspected kidnappers, armed robbers, cultists, child stealing, traffickers, and other criminal elements.
A total of 23 suspects involved in kidnapping, armed robbery, cultism, and murder, as well as child trafficking, were also arrested and paraded by the police. In Owerri, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
Apart from shelter and clothing as basic necessities of life, remains the most important because of its centrality to human survival. In this special report, Eva Aneke examines the possibility of Nigeria heading into food crisis as predicted by some international organizations and ways of curbing the situation.
Food, as defined by the English dictionary, is any substance that can be consumed by living organisms, especially by eating, in order to sustain life. Insufficiency in food production, high demand and consumption, growth in population, among others, are factors indicating food crisis, with the Nigeria Meteorological Agency's report that the country would experience shorter rains this year than as usual, poses a threat to massive food production. Some international organizations, such as the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organizations, World Food Programme, and World Bank, had predicted with the series of mass clashes, mostly in the 16th northern states, Nigeria is likely to have future food shortage. The question is, what is government at all levels doing to arrest the situation?
If you look at Southeast here, in Enugu in particular, you will discover that we have gotten some incentives which we are not privileged to get before. And based on that, I believe we will have much food now that we used to have.
Market survey shows that cost of major foodstuffs, which are usually cheaper at this season, is still high. High cost of transportation as well as low harvest, traders say, could contribute to more increase in the prices of goods. Interactions with some farmers indicate high expectations from government to employ modern farm mechanisms in farming.
If you also look at the fact that agricultural development has actually not taken hold in terms of modernization, in terms of being technologically driven, in terms of agronomical practices, it means that this year we are producing less than what we used to, And what we used to was not even sufficient.
A traditional ruler and farmer, Emekugu, said that all hands must be on deck to fight insecurity, a situation he described as major cause to possible food crisis in Nigeria.
I believe that it requires collaboration between the security apparatus of the country and other stakeholders like traditional rulers, governors, council chairmen, and the president.
With the ban on importation of foreign rice, flour, and other agricultural products by the federal government, there is need for a synergy and farmers to put a giant stride against future food crisis. In Enugu, Eva Aneke, NTA News.
With me in the studio to discuss this topic, food crisis, is Dr. Eric Oluedo. He is the former Commissioner for Agriculture in Enugu State. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, and welcome to the studio.
Okay, so let's start. What is food crisis?
Thank you very much. Our food crisis, simple definition of food crisis, is a long and extreme shortage of food that will result to death. It has to be long, extreme. Keywords there. Long and extreme shortage. The shortage of food has to be long to be able to start causing people dying. And the food crisis can be local, that's subnational. It can be of national level, or it can be at global level. So that is food crisis.
Okay, going by this definition, when can a country be declared to be in food crisis?
Well, if you use the United Nations description of famine, they said when 2 per 10,000 people start dying of poor access to food, so, and famine is it's another type of food crisis. So you can classically take it that way. So people will start dying, and then associated with poor access or lack of access to food, then you now describe it as the country or the subnational. Or at global level, it happens like it happened in 2008, it becomes a food crisis.
Okay. So what are the causes of food crisis?
Well, from what we viewed here, the causes can stem from political, economic, social, technological, environmental, security, or legislation. If you take the political angle, political insecurity, especially during electioneering program, there are a lot of political insecurity in so many African countries at that time that it causes crisis amongst ethnic people. People start being displaced. You start having increased number of IDPs, that is internally displaced persons, having people even causing refugees from one country to the other. So when this happens, they leave their farmland. And life follow because nobody will cultivate. Now, sometimes at the political level, you see that policy somersault. Some countries that are not stable, like most African countries, you change of policy, green revolution, agri for all, this and that, they keep somersaulting, that you don't have a definite approach to, primary production, secondary production, and tertiary production in farming. And this also is one of the, so at economic level, poverty, the level of poverty existing, it's a forces of demand and supply. So if you don't produce enough food, and you are in a country with a high rate of population increase, and then there is high demand for food, of course the price will shoot up. That is simply economic theory. So high demand, low supply, high price, and then no longer afford this food. And remember, this food they provide all the nutrients we need to exist. So then if you come to the social aspect, diseases, especially poverty, there is a triangle of death: poverty, ignorance, and disease. So these things come here. So in the social aspect, poverty, disease of crops, like in, disease of animals, disease of human beings. So some epidemics, they can now lead you to, poor shortage of food that can lead you to crisis. In technology, for instance, somebody mentioned here that we are still using hose and machete in a population that is almost getting to 200 million. And we are still using, that is what many people are using. And we still have, border farming scattered everywhere. Mechanization is almost getting impossible in so many places. You hardly see tractors. When they come, they are utilized by a few people who can afford it at a very, so the cost. So this technological barrier is a very big problem. Then you go to the major cause now, the environment. The environmental factors, you can see the weather change. You can see the ozone layer is depleting, and so many things. Let's pray that it doesn't perforate, because that will now see us another planet. So drought, flooding, you can see the flooding in Anambra, you can see flooding, even in Enugu. Everywhere you see the level of water rising. So this flooding, they are flooding away the food, the yam, the cassava, the mango. These things are cultivated on the soil. So these are this. And if you come to security aspect, insecurity, as somebody mentioned there, is another big cause. Farmers, herders, clashes in food baskets of nation, Benue, Nasarawa, Plateau, and so on. You can see the way these farmers are now living in IDP camp. So insecurity has brought that up due to clashes between farmers and herders. So all these things and other things will contribute. And also corruption. Corruption is a major issue, because with corruption you cannot have more food for money.
Okay, so you've outlined the causes of food. We've looked at the political, the economic, the social, and the... So coming back to Nigeria now, what is your reaction to some international organizations' prediction that Nigeria is likely to have future food crisis?
Okay, now if there is a prediction, I will advise the managers of the agri sector, or in fact the country itself, to take international predictions seriously. You don't just wave it, the other side. Even if it doesn't happen, use it to prepare in case it happens. For instance, by now, with this prediction, by now we should be handling some of our issues, the primary production. How are we getting our land tenure system so that mechanization can come in? Are we still on one person, less than 1 hectare of land? That is, so you can't mechanize when you are doing that. So you have to put a system in place, bring in private partnership in farming. Don't wait till the crisis comes. Then look at the status of the farmers. They are above 60. Sometimes you see 70 years old. Bring in the, train them, youth graduates, like what we did when I was Commissioner for Agriculture. We acquired land from every local government area, minimum of 10,000 hectares, so that big farmers will come, and then you give them the farm. They can do mechanized farm in such places. Then we trained youth graduates. We sent them to Port Novo, Benin Republic, and trained 172 of them. I bet you 172 of them today are millionaire farmers.
Okay.
And they are scattered everywhere.
So considering the high cost of food, let me just ask you this question before we go. So considering the high cost of food stuff in the market, is there any hope for Nigeria?
Yes, there is hope now, because what you need to do is to, why is there this high cost of food? It's forces of demand and supply. Even though I know that hoarding, sometimes there could be hoarding, but if the supply is high, the price will come provided the demand is steady. But if you have high demand, high supply, still price will come down a bit. Then if you have, alternative to some of the food materials assorted, then it will push down some of the food prices down. So you must have to see something that will bring the prices down. And that is what I just enumerated.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's now look at preservation. How we do it here in Nigeria?
Okay, that is, preservation is part of secondary production. That is value addition. You've got to add value when you produce raw materials, like rice, like, yam and so on. You don't just eat all of them. Look at our mango. Once they finish, they are finished. Look at our cashew. Once they finish, we must have to process, we must have to preserve, we must have to build the silos, gigantic silos. Before you have silos somewhere around co-camp. We should maintain those silos at the subnational. We should build silos at every 774 local government areas, and then store our food, and then make sure that there is high supply of food.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric, for coming on to the program.
Thank you very much.
So with this interview, we conclude the episode of Panorama from Enugu Network Center. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.